Hey, folks, Yishai Fleisher here, and Piers Morgan had another discussion about the Middle East, this time with a guy named Destiny. And these two guys are out there trying to solve the problems of the Middle East. You know, two white guys with no skin in the game, and none of them are either Muslim or Jewish. And I think this guy, Destiny, as I understand from Wikipedia, is famous for live streaming video games, which is great, but I'm not sure exactly he's a candidate for solving the problems of the Middle East. Let's hear these two guys complain that things are not yet solved and seem intractable.
And on the wider point, I kind of agree. I've had so many of these debates about Israel. It's very hard to do anything that doesn't immediately get dragged to the extremities in terms of the debate. Very hard to reach any point of consensus. You know, and I find that that's the dispiriting thing about that debate, and it may explain why the whole conflict in the Middle East between Israel and Palestine has been going on 75 years and appears so completely intractable. Nobody gives an inch.
But you, Pierce, you're going to go into that Hamas rhetoric and be like, yeah, the conflict's intractable, Israel's always a problem, this and that. No, we were on the way to looking past the conflict and talking about a thriving Middle East. One that has a strong economy and strong tourism. That was on the way, and it's still on the way. So do me a favor, don't be dispirited. Be excited for us and for the world that Jerusalem is back online. And don't think that the conflict is intractable. There's a lot of stuff that's moving forward. So let's see what else these guys are thinking, these two problem solvers.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's on the ground in Israel, Palestine, you have that issue where both sides have their myths that Israel fashioned themselves as these poor people, these poor Jews that wandered into the Middle East and had to fight these impossibly huge Arab armies that had domineering and overwhelming force and power and coordination, when in reality, post 48, Israel was always in a decent position to fight, and that was pretty obvious. And
yeah. You see, no, I gotta correct you here, Destiny, in a few things. We didn't wander into the Middle East. We're a Middle Eastern people. Our forefather Abraham, 3,500 years ago, was from Iraq area, and then lower Turkey, Assyria area, and that's where we're really from. Our peoplehood has been here for the last 3,500 years. You kind of want to get that straight. And when we were starting that first war in 1948, we had barely 600,000 people living in this land, and we were fighting massive Arab armies. So it's not a myth. We are from the Middle East, and yes, we were outgunned, and thank God we defeated our enemies. But that language of myth is a little bit irksome. Let's keep going with Destiny. He's got some Destiny words, some destinations for us.
Performance in 48, in 67, in 73. It was pretty obvious that they had the military capability to survive. But then on the other hand, you get, the Palestinian narrative of they were a poor, dispossessed people in their lands who only ever wanted peace. I think I saw a tweet saying we welcomed Israelis with open arms. That's absolutely not true. I think that the on-the-ground narratives contribute to the conflict feeling intractable.
But okay, yeah, the Palestinian narrative is not that they welcomed us with open arms, but I think you could have gone one step further, Mr. Destiny. Should I call you Mr. Destiny, or did you go to Destiny school? So maybe Dr. Destiny. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but I want to say that there was another narrative which was out there. Not only did they not welcome us with open arms, there was the "let's finish up Hitler's work" narrative, or "we will destroy you and drink coffee in Tel Aviv." And there will be no more Jewish Tel Aviv, and we'll take it over. So there was these other, let's say, genocidal narratives that Dr. Destiny forgot to mention there. Those are important.
But unfortunately, I think internationally, we feed into the intractability as well, because people are that conflict is so perfect for everybody to have a really strong opinion. You've got brown people and white people, you've got Jews and Muslims, you've got oppressed and oppressors, you've got Western colonial and Middle Eastern country. Like, everybody can have an opinion about this conflict because of the different parties involved. And people are so not level-headed when it comes to evaluating what's going on that they end up hyping up both sides, and they elevate the expectations to unrealistic levels, which means neither side is really willing to actually settle for a realistic resolution that might make both sides feel a little bit good and a little bit unhappy.
Well, first thing, that there was some smartness there, a little bit. Destiny's words about the fact that everybody wants a piece of this story and this fight and this narrative. I think there's a truth to that. I think everybody can line up in some political way that comports with their local politics and their country's politics, and then they kind of, they kind of project it onto what's happening here. I can hear that. But then at the end, there's this language of concession, of like, because of this extremity, then nobody's willing to come to compromise. Well, victory is not always about compromise. And I think Israel is like not in a place to compromise because it's tiny, because it's a tiny country in this region. And there's nothing to compromise about. When we compromise on our land, we compromise on our life. When we compromise on our land, we compromise on our identity. When we succumb to the jihad, there's really no place to go. Here we are. We compromised. Here Israel compromised on Gaza. We gave Gaza away. And we compromised our security, therefore. And so, yeah, when you're a tiny little ethnic minority, an armed ethnic minority in this region, there really isn't much room to compromise. It's true. But again, one of the things that Destiny misses is that it's not just Palestine, Israel, it's Arab world, Israel, of course, except for those countries that are now post-jihad and into normalization, the Abraham Accords countries, and may God make it that, bless us, that more will come. Let's get back to Piers and Destiny.
What do you think a realistic resolution looks like?
I think it's a multifaceted.
Piers is asking Destiny, the video game broadcaster, what the realistic solution is for the Middle East. Okay, let's keep going.
Thing, but I would say that it has to be some kind of two-state solution, and both sides need to be willing to negotiate for peace. And this is the hard one: both sides probably need to be willing to sacrifice a little bit for peace.
So great. Like, you think, right, that there's an opportunity for people like Destiny to be a little bit creative, be like, we've hit our head against a wall for 50 years now, talking about the same junk, and you think that a guy that's sitting out wherever he's sitting with that gun in the background there, you think he'd be like, maybe actually we should change some of the parameters here. Nope. No, thanks. I'm just going to say the same old tired line. Really, here's a moment of total failure of imagination, Mr. Destiny. You should read my article in New York Times about 5 alternatives to the two-state solution. But really, it's like there they are, Piers and Destiny, and they're thinking, and they're like, well, we're just going to say the most cookie cutter thing ever. We're just going to say exactly what has always been said. We're not going to break out of any box. And we'll compromise. We'll take tiny Israel, cut it up. Why don't you tell Taiwan that the best way to make peace with China is to cut Taiwan in half and give half to China? And I'm sure they'll be ameliorated and appreciate the willingness to compromise, and there'll be peace. It's just like, that's so dumb. And I'm just like, here. This moment is like the disappointment moment. It's like, really, bro, you couldn't come up with something different? Well, what are you going to do? Let's keep going.
That means that not every Palestinian is going to be happy with the final resolution. It means that Abbas might have to suffer, even more loss of his popularity, or whatever Palestinian leader rises might have to suffer more loss of popularity. It might mean on the Israeli side, similar to Begin or Rabin, negotiators for peace in the past, you might have to pay a political price for being a negotiator for peace, because sometimes the Israeli people or your Knesset doesn't always support you when you're negotiating peace against either Arab states or Palestinians. But the leadership has to be there, that has to be willing to suffer a setback or some loss initially for the peace agreement. And then both people need to have some kind of tolerance to say, hey, listen, we might not get everything we want on the old city. That applies to Jews and Muslims, or that applies to Israelis and Palestinians. Or, hey, we might have to do a lot of land swaps in the West Bank. Hey, all of these settlements that are outside of directly near the Green Line, maybe these do need to be torn down. But yeah, the conversation, we're not even in a place where we can start the conversation on that yet, because people don't even know if Hamas should exist or not, or if Israel has a right to defend itself, or if maybe murdering 1,200 civilians is a reasonable response to the supposed concentration camp conditions that exist in Gaza.
Yeah, I mean, you did it.
Okay, I mean, chirp. It's like, okay, everybody's got to compromise, and should Hamas exist is the same level as should Israel exist. How about this? Destiny, check this out. Here's a peace proposal. Israel is Jewish native land, tribal lands, and the Jews should live in their historic homeland. And that should be called Israel. And surrounding that should be Arab countries with Arabic names of their tribal and ancestral land, and they should be there. And then we should work in concert for a better future for this whole region, what I call the Abrahamic region, okay? See, wasn't that so much more interesting than this blah, blah, blah? Everybody should compromise. Everybody's going to be a little bit sad, and you'll give up on Jerusalem and give part of it to the jihad because the Hamas has a right to exist, blah, blah, blah. And the leaders will all take a hit, and everybody will feel happy because there's Western compromise. It's so tired. I was just like, really, to make this video, I had to watch this thing, and I was just like, oh, God almighty. When are we going to be done with this fuddy-duddy old stuff that has never worked, will never work, has no understanding of how the Middle East is? You don't make peace on land. You don't give away land in the Middle East. No tribe is like, you know what? Yeah, I'll give you half of my property so we can have peace. It doesn't work that way. You show your utter ignorance of Middle Eastern culture and style if you think that the way to work it out is by giving some of the land to the jihad. It don't work that way. You want to know how it works? You hold on strong. You hold the line. You get respect. You give respect. You get respect. Okay. We are a small ethnic. Israel is a small ethnic minority, armed and defended to make sure that nobody kicks us off our tribal lands. And when we're strong, then and our economy strong and our army strong, we push back on the jihad. The other Arab countries thank us, and then we can get rid of the bad guys and start having trade and having tourism. And not this dumb idea that maybe we should just give away parts, let the jihad take over it like they did in Gaza, and then compromise because that's so beautiful. I don't know. It's just tiring to see these two non-Middle East, non-Jewish, non-Muslim white guys discussing how we should compromise around here, not knowing one thing about how this region operates. But it's destiny, I guess.
Debate with Cenk Uygur, who's been on this show many times. In it, you said about deaths in Gaza that the ratio of Hamas to civilians killed were good ratios. But I'm not sure about that. And I'll tell you why. The problem I have with the whole death rate in Gaza, especially when there's a comparison made to World War II and how many German civilians were killed and so on, is that there is a unique population in Gaza of 50% children. Now, 50% of the 2 million are under 18. That's 1 million kids running around in Gaza. And already we've seen 30,000 civilians killed with 70,000 more wounded, many of whom are children. And that is something I've not seen in any recent conflict. And that's what makes it uniquely horrific to people.
Okay, so first thing is, we don't trust Hamas numbers. That's just the thing. The so-called Palestinian causes lie. They lie about numbers all the time. That's number one. Number two, if they have so many children, maybe they shouldn't line the place with rockets and teach brainwash to murder and to rape. Like, if there's so many children, then maybe they shouldn't use them as human shields to start up with us and to try to kill our children. And I have one message that I want to make clear. When we strike Gaza, we have a little message, which is, don't start with us. Don't start with us. We will mess you up. We will fight back. We will push back. We will make a war against you. Now you're going to say, Piers Morgan's concerned about the children. Yeah. Were you concerned about the children when they were brainwashing them to kill? Were you so concerned about the children when in Syria, 500,000 people were murdered and almost 2 million displaced? Come on, Piers. It's not real. You're so concerned about the children. Are you so concerned about the children, Piers, that you're making sure that refugees get out? Is there any American or British boat, French boat right there picking up the children so that we can have our war and get rid of the bad guys? Are you pushing to pick up the kids out of there? No, you're not. What you're really doing, Piers, is that you are making those children that you're arguing about a human shield against Israel pushing back and fighting the terrorists and fighting the jihad and fighting the Hamas. You are with your words, are putting those kids as more important than our war to clean out the nests of terror that not only attack Israel, but also subdue local Arabs and destroy their lives, take their children, brainwash them, steal their money, take their land, put tunnels underneath. So when you talk about those children, you are actually aiding and abetting, probably not intentionally, but you are aiding and abetting the enemy. Okay, so I hope you guys understand that Piers and Destiny really do not have solutions The video keeps going, but I think I'm going to pause it now here because I think I've had enough personally. In any case, Yishai Fleisher TV is here to serve you and help us understand how to actually move things forward and not hear old fuddy-duddy messaging that gets us nowhere, because it's like hitting our head against a brick wall again and again and again. And so I hope that you subscribe here to Yishai Fleisher TV, where the real destiny is moving forward the Jewish people in the land of Israel. God bless you guys, and shalom.